Welcome, Resilient Souls. Thank you for joining the Pain to Purpose podcast. I'm your host, PangNhia PT Burke. Today, we delve into a powerful story of triumph. Si Vang, not an expert, but a resilient soul, shares her journey overcoming the tragic loss of her husband. Your commitment defines Pain to Purpose. As we unravel Si's tale, express gratitude for your support and making this podcast a haven for resilience. Let's create another powerful chapter in our pursuit of strength. Stay with us on Pain to Purpose, embarking on this transformative journey through the resilience of Si Vang. Hi, Si. Thank you for being a guest on Pain to Purpose podcast today. Before we dive into your story, I just want to ask, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. And before we get started, I just want to ask, what prompted you to reach out to me and get on this podcast?
Hopefully, this will help someone else when they're going through their dark times, and give them hopes.
Perfect. And so, without further ado, I'm going to let you share your story, and give us what's helped you heal through this.
So, my story is when my husband passed away suddenly, tragically, after a fishing accident, and he drowned. There was a lot of pain, a lot of tragedy, a lot of tears, a lot of grief, a lot of emotional roller coaster. But then, it took me 4 years to heal. So I decided I need to heal my heart, myself, and deal with the pain, deal with the grief. So I did that. I shut down everything, and I really did just go into my own world and really figure out, what do I want, right? And who am I? Like, just all the question, trying to figure out who I am after my husband's passing. And then after that, I had to encourage myself because I have 4 kids that depending on me, right? Well, 5 now, but and I had to make sure that they're going to be okay, and I had to make sure that through my grief, they're grieving, and for them to not be in a dark time where there is no support for them.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm very sorry about what happened to your late husband. Let me ask you, during this time, you said that, you went into like this dark depression where you started questioning who you are as a person, who you were as a person. What made you come out of that? Like, what support system did you have?
I had to go through therapy. I want to install a psychiatrist. And they really are there to help us, right? I know there's a lot of stigma saying that if you go to see a counselor, or if you get counseling, or if you see a therapist, there's something wrong with you. And that's not the truth. That's just a myth. Everyone needs help sometime. And I honestly have to say that because I went through counseling, that helped me got over my dark time. And with therapy section, the therapist asked me question, and we kind of work it out as a team to overcome, all my struggles after my husband's passing, and even through just letting me grieve and cry, in his office many, many times. And I believe that finding help, professional help, is definitely a key to one of the reason why I overcome my grief and my struggles.
Thank you for sharing that. So, were your family very supportive? Was your husband's family supportive, or how did you overcome those things with them?
Honestly, because we are in a Hmong culture where there's still a lot of stigma, I didn't really tell my husband's side of the family. I just went therapy myself, but I did ask and counsel with my sister, and she suggested for me to go counseling, right? And she suggested that maybe this is a way, and even my cousin, she also suggested that maybe this is a way for me to help me overcome my own grief. So that's what I did. With my in-laws, they didn't know, but they're gonna about to know.
So let me ask you this, because you mentioned the Hmong culture, and a lot of people don't know what the Hmong culture is, and you said that there's stigmatism behind it. Can you explain a little bit what that stigmatism is with the Hmong culture?
Yes. So with the Hmong culture, I mean, we as women or wives, we're supposed to follow tradition. We're supposed to be the good wife, and we're not supposed to show any weakness. We're not supposed to show any struggles, and we're supposed to be strong all the time for our husbands, our kids, our in-laws, our parents. Um, and the stigma is that if you go to counseling, right? Like this is for overall in general. If you go counseling, there's something wrong with you. And it's just not, that's not the truth. That's just myth. But it's because our own society that we live in, and mental health is not um a thing that we actually talk about or talk more about. That I think that everybody is just ignorant to the point that there's a stigma just because you need help, right? But that's just what everyone thinks, but really it's not. And I don't think that it's a culture thing, more as a society thing. um because even as society we don't really talk about mental health. Now we starting to talk more about it, but before we didn't really talk about it. So I think that's just a whole normal thing for everyone not to talk about mental health and think that everybody's going to be okay and everyone's strong and there's nothing wrong with us.
Thank you for sharing that. So during your time of like coming out of grief, like how did you, I know that the therapy helped you, but how did you help yourself? Like through therapy, how did you help yourself to come to a realization that like, hey, you know what, this is it. Like my husband is gone. I have to grieve him and I have to move forward without him.
Honestly, I think that I was sick of tired of just being in my own depression. And so I had to motivate myself to get out of it, right? And just looking at my little 4-year old, she gave me motivation too, because I'm like, well, my 4 older kids are big, they're adults, so I didn't really have to worry about them. But my little child, she was only 3 months when her husband passed, and when my husband passed. So I had to be there for her, and I had to motivate myself to get better. Or else, if I'm gone, then no one's gonna take care of her, and no one's gonna be there, and she can't lose 2 parents. So she was my biggest motivation for me to make sure that I have to do everything I can to help myself, so I can help her and my other kids.
That's awesome. That's very awesome. So, how do you think that you've turned your pain of losing your spouse and, your soulmate? How do you feel like you've turned that pain into like the purpose that you're living in now?
Well, I believe that first I thought that my purpose was him, right? But that's not the case. Honestly though, for me to overcome and turn that around, I saw my little 4-year-old. She was grieving, she was crying, right? And she still do occasionally. She tells me that she missed her daddy, and it broke my heart. And so I had to remind her that it's okay if you miss your daddy. Your daddy will always be with you in your heart. And I had to, you know, deflect um that grief away from her and gave her positive motivation, right? Telling her that, you know what, you may lose your father physically, but you know technically your father is a part of you. And I had to explain to her at a very young age, at 4 years old, that a part of his DNA is in her, and whenever she miss him, then all she have to do is just look at the mirror, and there's a part of his reflection in her. And I think that right now, um it's helping her. And so when I help her, I help myself. And I think that that's a positive thing, because when we go through grief, or at least when I went through grief, I didn't really think about how it affect my little baby, because she was only 3 months, right? So I just thought that, as she grows older, she's gonna be okay, because she didn't really know her dad only for 3 months. So she was so little. And but then what surprised me was that as she got older, she started questioning about her dad, and she was questioning me about, who her dad was and how much she missed him. And I reflected, and I'm like, wait, she was only 3 months. How is she, able to process, losing her dad when she was still an infant? But honestly, kids are so smart. And I think that sometimes as parents, we forget that our kids are also suffering and they also see and go through our pain. Um, and I saw that through my own journey while I was healing and going through grief and heal. She also helped me go through that, and I saw that. So as I'm helping her to overcome or at least make peace that her dad's not here, it's also a tool for me to help me heal as well.
That's well said. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So, what were the days like leading after you lost him? Like, what was your state of mind?
I was shocked. My body shut down. I couldn't walk. I couldn't eat. I couldn't eat during, even like after the funeral. I couldn't eat for like months and months and months. I mean, my world like just became pitch black. Like there was no light. Um, I mean, I went through depression, and I also thought about, committing suicide, right? Like I thought, okay, well, since he's gone, I want to follow him. I want to go where he's going, right? Or where he went to. And it was really dark. It was really dark. I wouldn't want anyone to go through what I went through.
Mhm.
But then you know what? Um, God always sends the right people at the right time. And they
Amen.
may not be, the person for me forever, but they were the person for me at that time. And, beside me going to counseling and my kids, I also had, friends who I can rely on and counted. And they were my support system too. I mean, I, call them, and even my aunt, some of my family members, my aunts, my sisters. I mean, there would be like I can call them, any hours of the day, and they would just be there and let me talk and just help me go through what I'm going through, and actually let me feel all my emotion. And so I think that that is really wonderful. It's just I noticed that this journey is just not my journey. I think that it's my journey plus all of my friends and family and my loved ones who went on to this journey with me.
And that's amazing because you don't find that a lot in what I do in the interviews that I've had. A lot of people found themselves, myself included, not having that support system because, as you mentioned, mental health is not talked about. And so, people tend to tell you to get over it. Did you encounter anything like that with anyone during your grief process that just told you, like, hey, you just need to get over this?
No, because I knew exactly who to go to, and I was really blessed to be able to go to those people that I needed help. Um, the people who I knew I couldn't count on and were gonna give me negative feedback, I just didn't go to them at that time. I really shut down, and I only allowed the people who truly love me and I knew that was going to support me through this. I allowed them to come into my life, but everyone else, I just kind of shut down. Even some of my own siblings and my parents, I shut down, and I didn't allow anyone um, to come in unless I was able to trust them.
And that's understandable, especially because you're at a stage in your life where you're trying to heal. You're not healed yet, but
Right.
you're trying to heal. Do you think, have you rebuilt those relationships with those individuals, or do you feel like you just lost relationships along your healing journey?
What do you mean, like my families or my friends?
Friends, family, people that you used to think, friends that you guys had while you were married. Do you feel like there are some people that fell off because they didn't understand your grief process, your healing journey? Like, have you lost friends along the way because they didn't understand, or you just kind of cut them out?
No, I think that it was a pause.
Okay.
Um, During that time, it was just a pause. And now I'm better. I'm, healing every day. I don't think that I'll always, be at 100%, but I'm slowly healing. And now I notice that I open those doors to those people that I kind of just put a pause in the relationship. And I notice that now they are more open and with open arms, letting me in again. So for me, I don't think that I actually cut them off. I think there was just a pause where I had to deal with me, right? And I felt like if I can't help myself, how am I going to be able to help anyone else? And if I'm not good to myself, how am I going to be good to anyone else? I noticed that maybe this year I started to love myself, like self healing and self loving. I think that that's very important to help us with some type of healing, because we have to be able to love ourselves, right? We have to be able to give ourselves grace and forgiveness. Um, And within all of that, it gives us peace and happiness. I honestly feel that we have to be happy within ourselves first in order for other people to be able to see their happiness. If
Yeah.
not, if we can't find ourselves, then it's going to be hard for other people to find, that person. Because honestly, everyone judge, right? I know that we're not supposed to judge, and I remind myself that, but I'm at fault of that too. Sometimes I do judge, right? Because we are human. That's human nature. And
Hmm.
that's why I started the journey of just loving myself first. And everything that I did for other people, I learned to do it for myself now. And when I did that, I noticed at the end of this year, notice that I don't rely on people loving me back as much, or I don't rely on people helping me, or giving them, high expectation. And if they don't, meet the expectation, I don't feel like I'm lost again. And so I truly believe that part of healing is, yes, loving yourself first. And I know that that's a struggle for me and probably for most people, is because we tend to forget ourselves and we tend to neglect ourselves, especially when we're a wife, a daughter, a mother, an aunt, right? There's so many hats that we are wearing, but yet we forget the most important one, and it's called loving ourselves and, self love. So I think that that helps a lot too. When we change that mindset, that it just changed the whole world. Like everything that you see in the world is not so bad anymore, right? It's all positive. Like I know that through my husband's tragedy and his tragic death, it was blindsided by everyone. We didn't know that he was gonna pass, right? I didn't know that he was gonna pass. His family, my family, like we didn't know that he was gonna pass so suddenly. After 3 months culturally married to him, then he passed. So I think that everybody was blindsided. But then, through all of this, I gained so much friendship. I met new people outside of my comfort zone. It opened up so many doors. And I truly believe that the only constant in my life is really God. And God really showed me a door that if I lean on him, then you know what? Everything that I lost, I didn't really lose it. It was just a transition to a different direction where I need to be in life, right? Because every role leads to a different destination. Like we as human, even me, I felt like once we get through, or once we are in that tragic, situation and start, we think that life is over. But that's our own mindset, because we don't know what we don't know, right? We don't know anything else, just that. But once there's doors that's open to us, then there's so many different directions that your life or a person's life can go through. um and there's going to be new people, there's going to be old people, there's going to be friendship, there's going to be, who knows, new career, new jobs. There's just so many different connections that life will redirect you to your right destination.
I absolutely agree with you, and I applaud you for overcoming that and realizing, and I agree with you. God is the only consistent person or consistent being in our life that is going to help us get through it. And um, so let me ask you this. If there was anything that you can tell someone who's going through exactly what you're going through right now, what would that be?
I would say, don't be ashamed of your situation. Don't be ashamed of your emotion, right? Just feel everything that you need to feel. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to yell, yell. If you need to vent, vent. Vent to a professional. So that way they are able and they're licensed, and they know how to handle the situation. Dark place, after that, there's going to be light after that tunnel. And there's going to be, the light is going to be so wonderful because you're going to learn to be resilient. You're going to learn to be strong. You're going to learn how to survive in this world. It's not even all about, competition, right? But it's about surviving into this world and overcoming and helping you and everyone else around you. And that's what makes this world so beautiful, is because honestly, beautiful people comes from broken past and broken, and past traumas. I truly believe that out of those people, they become a beautiful human being because they know how to sympathize, empathize, and they really, really know how that other person feels because they went through it themselves. And that's the beautiful part of having, relationship and connection with other human, friends, family. So don't lose hope. If you need to, reach out to a professional. And there's no, you shouldn't be ashamed, because you know what, it's okay to feel what you feel, because that's part of the healing process.
Amen to that. Thank you for sharing that tidbit with someone who may be going through this. So let me ask you, if someone resonates with your story and wants to connect with you, how can they connect with you on social media?
um they can go through you if you would like that.
Okay.
Um, and then my Facebook, but my Facebook name is actually a mom, so I don't know how to, tell you right now. And if you want to, you can put that in your comment.
Okay.
Um, or or if you feel like, they wanted to contact you, then they can contact you, and then you can just pass along to me.
Okay. That's perfect. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us, Sai?
Just thank you, PT, for having me on your video, or your on your podcast.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for being a guest, and I hope to see you again soon. I know that I've known you for many years, probably over 20 years now,
Has it been
and
that
it
long?
has been that long. I met you in my 20s, and I'm now in my mid 30s. So,
Wow. You don't
um,
age.
thank you. So I look forward to hopefully having you on here as a guest again. And again, thank you for sharing, your story with us and amplifying voices so that other people can heal as well.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this powerful episode of Pain to Purpose, where we're breaking silence and amplifying voices. A heartfelt thank you to our incredible guest, Si Vang, for sharing their inspiring journey with us today. If Sai's story touched you, connect with them. Find more information in the show notes. Reach out, share your thoughts, or let them know how their story resonated. To our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your support helps spread these important stories of resilience. Stay tuned for more empowering episodes. Remember, your pain has a purpose and your voice matters. If you want to share your own story, please reach out. Check our show notes for more details. This is your host, PangNhia PT Burke, signing off. Until next time, take care, keep breaking the silence, and find strength in your journey.